everyone. Thanks so much for joining me for this week's episode of What I Grew Up. On today's episode, it is my honor and my pleasure to welcome my friend Uni Min. Hey Uni, how are you?
Hi, nice to see you.
So good to see you too. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I know you're
Thank you
probably
for having me.
super busy. Before we get into what you do, I just want to say even just so much admiration for being a wife and a mom of 3. That in itself is a job. I'm learning.
It is. It's a full-time job. Never ends.
But on top of that, before I ask you what you do, I want to know, how have you been?
Well, I'm good and I'm bad. Like today, Jimmy saw me on the couch today because I was literally laying down and I'm like, I cannot do this virtual school. It is only day 1 and they were supposed to be back after winter break, but the winter break is kind of long.
Yes.
And so after like 2.5 weeks, I was like, I am so ready for everybody to get back in school so we can just get back into routine and schedule.
Yes.
And so for the most part, my kids are very independent, but my youngest, I had to do a bunch of like work with her this morning, and math is just like not my thing. So
yeah. So actually, what is it? So you sit there with your child?
Yes, you have to sit
school?
with, and I know it's not like super duper important these first 2 days what I'm hearing, but she's going through her math, like 30 questions, and it's all like online, and one question will have like multiple parts. And so I want her to understand it. But some of the things she's like, I didn't learn this yet. And then I'm like, I don't even remember all this stuff because it's like, I don't remember it. And so now I'm like, am I dumb? Because this is like 3rd grade math and I'm struggling. But we got through it. And I was just like, there's a big chance that it could be virtual next week too. So
oh, really?
I'm just mentally preparing myself.
Oh, goodness.
So much love for all the teachers out there. I have so much respect because it is a very important job, one that I could not do.
Yeah, no, I can't even imagine. I'm like, I've contemplated homeschooling before.
Yeah.
Because Eli's going to be going to kindergarten, and like I'll sit there with him like to work on just like, just fun stuff. But even in that, I get a little bit frustrated and I'm like, I can't do
and then
it.
You feel bad. And I'm like, I don't want to get mad. And then I'm like, you should remember this. And then and then I feel bad and I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, right.
Mom's not a good teacher. So that's where I am today.
Nice. Well, in the midst of all of that, I really do appreciate you being here and giving me your time, because what you do, I feel, is like so cool.
Aww. I'm happy to be here and tell you about it.
Yeah, and I'm excited. So Uni and I met, I don't even know, like,
I don't remember how we met, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, we met through a church ministry situation.
Okay.
And then I even remember it was when I met you that like you kind of first started that. Like first started
I think it was maybe for the conference or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The women's conference.
And I was like, and it was just like in passing, someone mentioned it. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And now we're here 35,000 followers later.
Oh, it's been a fun and very unique journey.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Okay. So sorry. For those of you that don't know, Uni is, she is a blogger, in my opinion. She's going to expand more, but, and she is an influencer in her field. And also just somebody that really, honestly, if I'm honest, like you just truly bring joy to my newsfeed.
Oh, that makes me so happy to hear.
Yeah. So I'm excited to kind of, because another thing I have questions about as somebody that's a social media presence is like, it's like, is it that glamorous?
No, it's not.
So I'm excited to like hear all about that, that part too. So, okay, what would you say you are? Like, what do you do?
So I feel like my job it's just very big and encompasses a bunch of different things because I blog. I've blogged for, I want to say over 7 years now. And I blog over at Love Your Abode. And it's a very much focused on home decor, DIY design. I guess you could say lifestyle too, because I throw in a lot of like recipes, tips, things like that, like organization. And then I stage homes. So like realtors in my local area will hire me to like stage a home for sale. And then, so I've been doing that for about, I want to say 4 years. I take on private clients as well. So I do some local client work, commercial design, and sometimes I take on just e-design, which is basically design over the internet. I'll create a design on the phone and through email and FaceTime, and then help people kind of bring a room to life that way.
Right. I think I've seen those like idea boards that you put.
Yeah. Like design boards. And then I'm an influencer, which is a word that, I don't know, it carries a lot of baggage, I think, but I'd like to think of it as it can be a word that can be a good and powerful word that we can be an influencer to bring like influence to the world and bringing light, bringing joy, and even just being, a reflection of God in social media, which is kind of hard, sometimes. So.
No, it's definitely difficult, I think, these days, especially. But can I ask you, you said that you felt like sometimes that word brings some baggage.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
There's so many things, because I think when you think of influencer, you might think of a certain type of person like carrying around their phone everywhere and just like, it's like a lot of selfies or just
true.
asking for free meals at a restaurant. I don't know. It's like, it just has like all these types of meanings that I think our generation kind of like looks at it. And if I were to tell somebody like maybe in my generation, like, oh, I'm an influencer, they might be like, okay, so it's kind of like one of those things that's like, people might be kind of like, why do you do that, and not really understand what it encompasses. But I see it as something that can be a really positive thing, where because we do have the capability and the power to bring influence into this world, especially in this time and age, like I carry that, with a lot of weight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, that makes sense though. I mean, I think I am in this weird generation myself, like I'm in between your generation and the generation below us. But I think that I would imagine, like with amongst your friends too, it's like it's such a new age kind of situation.
I mean, I didn't even know I was going to get into it,
Right.
So
right.
I think maybe if I weren't doing it, I would have certain, I don't know, ideas surrounding it too without knowing. And I don't even know how many of my friends actually really understand sometimes my job,
Right.
So it's just interesting because, there's so many types of influencers out there, and so many like even having one specific niche, there's so many different, like you literally could do anything.
Yes.
And become an influencer.
Yes.
Doing that one thing,
which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like truly. I mean, like, can I ask you, since we're on the topic, yeah, I mean, I feel like 7-8 years ago, though, even the term influencer was not a thing.
Right.
And so it kind of, progressed over the years, I'm sure. But like, when was it that like things turned for you?
So I've been blogging for over 7 years. I remember pushing that button December, something was right around Christmas time. And I was telling my husband, like, I really want to start a blog, mostly because I wanted to just like share and have a place to like catalog a lot of recipes and share like photos and things like that, and kind of have more of a passing down like recipes to my kids and stuff like that. And I was like, maybe other people will want to learn how to make mandu and stuff like that. So I started off that way. And then I just really got into the home decor niche, which is like weird because I've always been interested in it, but I never really like decorated my home until we moved into this current home, which was again, like 8 years ago. And after like seeing and being influenced myself from all these other bloggers, I was like, oh my gosh, like decorating my home and falling in love with it. And then I would fall in love with just like DIY projects. And I've always done things with my hands, like scrapbooking and little crafts. But then I really fell in love with like painting and tools. and building. And so once I kind of started in that direction, there was like no stopping, because I just fell in love with it. And that was after I had, pretty much after I had my last child, Emmy, who's 8 right now. I felt like, kind of like what you were sharing, Blair, like I had this desire to like want to do my own thing. And it just kind of organically came about, where I was just doing something that I loved. And I felt like there was like so much joy that came out of it. And then I started sharing it, because it's kind of like, you know, when I'm like eating something delicious, I'm like, I have to tell my best friend, you know, because it's delicious. And so like when I was creating these things, I'd be like, oh, I want to show somebody else how to do this. And then it just became this desire to teach and desire to tell people like, you can do it too. Like if I can paint this ugly table that was like $10 and make it beautiful, you can do it too.
Yes, I love
and
that.
So that's kind of how the blog like was birthed, like, or not so much the blog, because I did that first, but just the birthing of just my desire to continue sharing these projects online. And then it organically just grew to where it became a job, you know?
Yeah. Which is like kind of crazy, no?
It's very crazy, because that's not like what I studied. It's not what I would have ever envisioned, you know? But that's where God led me.
Yeah. And that part where you said you just really want to show people that they can do it too. Like truly, there are sometimes I look at your projects and I will show my husband and be like, hey, look what Uni did. I think I can do this to the foyer table. What do you think? And he's like, if I'm not crafty or anything like that. He's like, okay. And I'm like, no, she just took some paint, some chalk paint, and then we can just
slap it on there and call it good.
But it's so funny. But yes, I'm always inspired by your simple DIY doable projects, which I think a lot of people, it seems, are really inspired by. Your staging job where you go and stage houses, which I think is so cool, because
that's actually the most unglamorous job ever.
Why?
It's so unglamorous, because I'm spending like one staging job, I'll calculate it to be at least 12 hours of work, where it's basically, I come into my space, like I have all the pictures of the home if I haven't gone there physically to look at it myself. And then I'll come back and I mentally take notes like, okay, there's 2 tables in the house, so I need to have 2 tables worth of tablescapes. So I'll go into my inventory, get out everything, and then I have to pack it all. I have to pack it all into boxes. Then I have to move them all into my van, which my husband will sometimes take all the chairs, remove all the chairs from the van. And it's basically like, so people are like, you're basically like a small moving company, because I'm moving all this inventory into someone's house to completely style and decorate it. And then I have to come back and pick it all up again and like reorganize it. It's very backbreaking.
Right.
Actually, it's a lot of like physical labor. And because I'm kind of a one-woman job, like sometimes I'll hire one other person. It could be like my neighbor or my daughter or whoever. But typically it's just me. And so I found it to be, it's really great experience, but it's a lot of physical toil. And I don't have the best back. So I was like, this is not easy. So I don't do as many now.
Okay.
It's very far in between. I was doing a bunch for like a few years. And then after a while I was like, this is just a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it. And, I don't want, I already know kind of like just from what you post, like on your social media, but for those of the people that don't know what it entails, so, I mean, you have like all this inventory, like
I have all this inventory
of sets of like,
there's like
plates and cups
gazillion pillows and linens and dishes. I have so many dishes. Plates and chargers and basically everything. And even like small pieces of furniture that I'll have to bring, like nightstands sometimes, or a coffee table, things like that. And it's a lot of stuff.
Wow. So how did you even start doing that? From your blog?
So my friend who was following me, Haley, who I've worked with a bunch in the past, she contacted me.
Oh, from Space Crew.
Yes, from Space Crew.
Yes.
I just actually helped design some of that, her space there too. She contacted me. We went to college together, And so she was like, hey, when she first started to get into real estate, she wanted me to come out and decorate one of her listings. And so I was like, I've never done that before, but I was like, okay, I'll do it.
Oh, wow.
So I went there, and she was like, she pretty much helped me start that particular pathway, because then she like got really busy, and she became very successful very quickly as a realtor. So she was hiring me, and then I had a couple other local realtors hire me in the area to just stage the homes. And so a lot of people, they don't realize when I show up, they're like, oh my gosh, what's happening? You have so much stuff. And I'm like, you don't even realize. But once I put it out, like, it just, you can't even believe that it fit all in my car, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Can I ask you, like, how much would one like house be for you to stage?
Sure. So particularly one house, I mean, it depends on how minimal the staging will be, but it will start at anywhere from $800 to usually less than 2,000.
Okay.
So it just depends on how many rooms and how I calculate just how many hours it'll take.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's, I mean, again, I ask you about this because I feel like this is something that there may be people that would be like, oh, this is interesting. You know, this is an option.
And so many other people like who do staging. It just depends if you have like a full inventory of like furniture and you have a whole crew, you know, you're going to have to charge more just because of insurance purposes and things like that and whatnot. And, you know, you're going to do a lot more just items that you have to bring in and out of that house. Whereas I don't really focus on bringing in any like pieces of furniture, really. It's just styling and making the space look really good for photographs. So I'll look at a bed and I'll be like, typically I'll have to replace all the linens and the duvet and stuff like that, just to make it look, because you want the clients to see the photographs from the listing and that'll bring them there. And then sometimes people don't understand like why I do the tablescape, but I said, it's because a lot of times when people are buying a house, they go in and they can kind of imagine how their family will live in that space. But when it's decorated, they're like, wow, I totally would do that. And I want to like host a party and do this. And it really helps to envision how the house can be lived when they come in and look at it, when it's already like decorated.
Yeah, you know? No, absolutely. And I think, you know, when David and I were looking into houses and we would go to houses versus an empty house versus a stage house.
It makes a difference.
Yeah, David's like, oh, this is nice. Yeah, and then we go to an empty house. Exactly. It could be bigger and nicer. Yeah. And he's like, no, the other one was better.
Yeah, that's why model homes are beautiful. Yes. They spend a lot of money on staging because it makes the difference. It makes a world of a difference. Yeah.
Right. Man, okay, so cool. But so I know that your days must look different all the time. Or I would imagine with your kids and stuff like that, your family. But I'm curious, like as far as like blogging goes and making sure you're up to date with your social media, because like, you know, what I noticed is you have to post every day. It seems.
I don't post every day. There might be times like for the winter break, I took a good chunk of time off because I felt like it's like when people say like, what's that phrase? It's like, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I found that to be the opposite. It's like, if you love what you do, you'll be working nonstop actually, you know, because it's hard when you're an entrepreneur or you own your own business. It's really hard to it's not like a typical 9 to 5 where you just like clock out and then it's done. Like a lot of times, and especially as a mom, you know, our jobs are it never ends. And so I can only do what I can during the time that I have. There has to be a lot of flexibility sometimes. And then I might have to catch up on some things in the evenings. And so, I took a break during Christmas, which is really, really nice. Good. And then, to just make sure I like spend time with my family, but also to really disconnect from, you know, the internet, which is hard because it's like, it seems like you have to be on all the time, especially when you do this type of job, you know?
Yeah. Did you feel like that in the beginning?
So I'm a lot better about like resting when I need to rest and like putting it away, but I do still struggle with it from time to time, especially because like, you know, when I'm doing a sponsored post, like there's a particular amount of content and deliverables that I have to turn into the company. And so that might be like posting throughout the day, and then I have to post another thing in social media at night, and then I have to sit there and engage because of the algorithm and you know all the things that you have to think about. And in the end of the day, you know, I want to deliver the best content that I can to these brands that I'm working with, but at the same time, I'm not going to be a slave to the machine. You know what I mean?
Right,
and I feel like you can easily become that. And so I have to kind of really check myself from time to time, because in the end of the day, I'm like, and it's still a job, you know? And it's great. And it is important, but it's not the most important thing.
Man, I think that's really great advice to everybody. Like, I mean, whether you're thinking about going down this path or not, it's like, whatever you do, you know, what are you really living for, you know? And so that's good. But okay, so what I was going to ask you though was, I don't know, could you take me through a typical day of Uni Min?
Sure. It's pretty boring.
I doubt it.
It's pretty boring. So a typical day, well, normally when the kids are in school, like right now, we're kind of just in flux right now, but on a typical day, like let's say Tuesday, we get up at 7. My oldest gets up earlier, and she's old enough. She's 14. So she gets up earlier than us, around 6, and goes to school. So I don't have to worry about her. So we usually get up at 7, and then send the 2 younger kids off to school. And I usually will go for a run with my friend like every other morning. We do that. That's my me time. I have to do that. It's like the best stress relief. And so after that, and I get ready for the day, I usually start at about 9:00 in the morning. And then it will just depend on what type of content that is either due that day. Sometimes it might be like a DIY project that I need to do, but typically I start with like emails and just doing all the logistical work. That's really, really fun. It's so boring. Or like I have to do bookkeeping. That, you know, it's a lot of like the back end stuff that's super boring. But if it's like a DIY project day, I have to make sure that that's all videotaped properly. I have to make sure that the weather cooperates. It's good lighting. And then I'm doing videography. It's like a one-woman magazine. That's the best way I can describe my job, because I'm doing the photography. I'm doing the actual project. I have to write up how to do that thing. Then I have to take good pictures, and then I have to edit it. So all of these things that happen, I have to make sure all of these things are just, there's so many different moving parts that have to happen. And then once that's complete, then I can sit down and do editing. Usually an editing day will take me a full day for a particular project. There's just so much, you know, whether it's a video or photography, and then writing it out, and then making sure that all those set deliverables are finished. And what I mean by deliverables are like, when I have like a brand partnership, they'll ask me, we want a social media post, like Facebook, Instagram, we need your blog post. And so all those things have to be drafted, and then I turn them in. So those are the deliverables that we've agreed upon on the contract. And then once they get it, sometimes I'll say, can you edit this? And then, you know, so there's that. There's a lot of contracts that I have to look through, which is super boring as well.
So like the contract you're talking about, like, are these like sponsorships? Or?
These are sponsorship posts. Yeah.
Okay.
So if a brand wants to work with me, let's say like Home Depot, because Home Depot, I probably have worked with them the longest, and they're one of my most loyal brand partnerships that I have. So we'll negotiate a contract. It's long. And then basically it has all the set deliverables, timetable, like everything from, you know, how much they're going to pay me to deadlines and things like that. And so once that's all set, then I have to deliver whatever it is that they want in that certain time period. And a lot of times people don't realize, like when you do post, like let's say yesterday, my post for Emmy's DIY kids workshop craft went online.
That was rainbow one. Yes.
The rainbow jewelry holder, which we built, that was done at least, I want to say like maybe a month ago. Like typically these projects are done a month or 2 months ahead of time. And like, I already have my February post that's going to go live. That's already been approved.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. And then.
So they have to approve it first before
they have to approve it. Yeah. Yeah. Majority of sponsored posts are approved. And then you can go live on that particular date that they want. And then you go from there.
Yeah. Interesting. So the date that you you released it yesterday, is there a reason that they have these particular dates? I'm just curious.
It just depends on the brand, but for the particular project that we did yesterday, it's because it's the first week of January. And they want parents to take their kids, which is the first Saturday of the month at Home Depot. I'm doing a plug-in for Home Depot right now for Saturday, and you get your free kids workshop craft. And so then you'll get that craft and build it at home. I used to take my kids, like Jimmy and I would take them the first Saturday of every month, and they would do it there because they give you everything that you need.
I know where I'm going to be on Saturday.
Yeah. So now they don't have it in store, but you can take the free project at home and do it with your kids, which is awesome. But starting in February, I'm actually doing the actual February project for Home Depot.
Okay.
And then sharing that with my readers and telling them to go and do it with their kids too. And it's a great fun way to just spend time together. And so this past project, it was like our own, like the past projects we've been doing, the last 3, they were our own creations. And then the next 3 that we're doing are the actual Home Depot kids workshop crafts. So you can pick it up the first Saturday of the month. It's free. And all you need is usually like a hammer and maybe screwdriver. And
so, the advent calendar, that was something you guys came up with?
The advent calendar? Which one was that one?
No, wasn't that advent? Was it like
a that little, the game? That one, we came up with that one. Yeah.
That was really cute.
So sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we going to build? Cause I want it to be really cute and creative, but still like easy enough where people feel like they can do it.
Yeah.
But the next projects are really great because they're already pre-assembled, like they're already pre-packaged.
Okay.
And so it's so easy for literally anyone can do it.
Man, Home Depot, Saturdays, you have kids where I'm going to be.
Go get it.
So how does one get sponsorship?
So when I first started out, I reached out to Home Depot in the beginning because they were the one company that I was like, that's my dream company. So I reached out to them and I said, I would love to do this paneled wall design in my living room. So they said yes, and they sponsored that project. And so they basically provided the tools and items that I needed to bring that to life.
Oh, wow.
So ever since then, we've had a really great working relationship. So they've just reached out to me the last however many years to do different campaigns and workshops with them.
That's amazing. Yeah. Man, that really seems like it would be my dream come true too. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love working with them. So it's been awesome.
So, I don't imagine you went to college. You mentioned you went to college with Haley, and you were like, I'm going to be a DIY blogger.
I know. That wasn't, that actually existed maybe in college. Actually, I don't know. No, I don't know if blogging was even a thing. I know MySpace and stuff like that was
right. Maybe, no, I feel I mean, there was blogs, but I don't think it was for this.
Yes. There are some really old, I have a couple of friends who are the OGs of blogging. They were there in the very beginning. And they're still going strong. But yeah, I went to college and I studied, I majored in sociology and I minored in Spanish.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I studied abroad in Spain. I was going to do something with that. And I wanted to go into law school, after college, but then my parents begged me to help with their business because they were really struggling at the time. This is when I was a senior in high school. And so I was like, I don't want to do that. Work with my parents. No, thanks. But they were really struggling. And I felt like God was just putting that on my heart. It's not going to be forever, but this is a good time to kind of set aside my own desires and pathway and then go work with them. So I did that. And I think I did that for almost 6 years. But during the time where I was managing their business, I also did real estate on the side. So it's funny that I have that background and kind of just like the experience of a real estate agent. And then I had experience as a stager later on, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that helped and worked to your advantage too.
Yeah, I think so, because I kind of understand like what needs to get done to sell a house, you know? So yeah. But yeah, I didn't study this in college. And so it's just interesting because I feel like, I mean, I started blogging, I think when I was 30, actually, I don't even remember. No, I was 38 maybe. And, you know, it's cool because you can like reinvent yourself later in life, you know, like you might be doing this career in your 20s and part of your 30s, and then decide like, I'm actually going to do something completely different. And it's never too late to do that, you know?
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean, that's what I love about this podcast and hearing people's stories and telling people like, hey, like it is never too late to start over. Even if you
never
graduated with some crazy degree and you feel like you need to stay there, that's definitely not the case. And
exactly.
Was there ever, I mean, I feel like, okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. But I feel like, you know, you started at 38 and you know, at 38, I would imagine, I mean, even I still feel like I'm coming into my own. But like, you know, you kind of have some sort of a grip on like who you are, I think, and being confident in your identity.
Yeah.
So I feel like you putting yourself out there at 38 may have been less daunting than those maybe doing it at a younger age.
Maybe, yeah. Actually, it was 34, but I'm bad at math, so I couldn't calculate that in my head earlier.
34. Okay.
34, I was like,
I was going to say 38. That doesn't seem right.
I know, because I was like, wait a second, I've been doing this for how long? 7 years? I was like, yeah, I think I was like 34, 33, 34. But definitely,
that's me. That's me. Yeah. I'm you.
Yeah. I'm old now. But literally, like as you get older, you do feel more confident in your skin, and you're just like, you know what, I'm just going to do my own thing. It's not going to be for everyone. And that's totally okay, because I'm not doing this for everyone. I'm doing it because I love it. And it's my hope to teach and inspire others to create a home that they love and that they can build and they can use tools, and that you don't have to be afraid of using them as women, you know, like it can be so rewarding. And I just love it, just sharing that with other people. And I think definitely, like, you know, with a younger generation, like, I mean, I don't even let my 14-year-old on Instagram yet, you know, and, you know, but there's going to be a time, because eventually she's in high school already, so I can't keep it away from her forever. But I think because my job is so heavily in the social media field, it's like, I want even to protect them even longer, you know? Yeah. But it's hard, because like even as kids who use it, like they struggle so much with just their identity and what they see. And even as adults, you know, like we see it and it's so easy, like we can't help but to compare ourselves, like, you know, whether it's how we look or what somebody else is doing or what their job is, and it looks so glamorous and everybody's life looks better than mine. Like it's so easy to get caught up in that. And I think hopefully the older we get, we realize that that's not always real, you know, and to really know who we are and have our identity really, really grounded, because if not, it's going to be shaken, and it's going to like, it's going to be really hard, you know?
Uni, I do remember there was a time, I don't even know what the topic was, but like something happened in your social media and you addressed like people that were basically leaving like hate comments, I think, or direct DMs or something. I don't even remember the situation. And I remember you addressed it and being like, man, like, why do people gotta do that? Like, you know, but
it happens.
Then after that, you've never addressed it ever again, from what I can tell. In those moments, if I can ask you, like, Yeah, I mean, even though I mentioned like you were confident at 34, a little more confident who you are, it's less daunting. You don't really care too much what other people think about you at that point. Um, but we are human.
We're human.
And
And how
like,
do I deal with like
yeah,
negativity and like hate
yeah.
DMs and stuff like that? Well, when I first got my like a troll comment or whatever, it was really, really funny. But the first thing I normally do is I text my sister and we
Who,
laugh
by the
about
way,
it.
is so much fun.
She's hilarious. So she got her first hate comment. She's a baker, Brown Butter Bakery.
Yes.
And we always like to text each other, and like I'm like, oh, look at this comment that I got today. And I think I really don't get a lot, but during the time, I think we're living in a very sensitive time period where everyone there's like so much anxiety and so much just really heightened feelings going on. And so I think it was like Black Lives Matter or something. And I posted about stuff during that time, and it really triggered people. And so they left me hate comments, DMs actually. It was like, if I didn't do something, they were getting mad at me. If I did do something, they were getting mad at me. And I remember during that time, like it was already like such an anxious time period as it was.
Yes.
And I did break down at one point, because I was like, I just feel like at this point, like my job is not that fun anymore, you know? And it was one day, I remember very distinctly, like somebody had gotten really upset about something. I mean, I can't even completely remember what it was now, but I was running with my friend and I was sharing it with her. And then I think it was that time, like this was like at the kind of COVID had just started, like we were a few months into it in 2020. And so there was just we were all quarantined at home. We couldn't go anywhere. So there's so many like feelings and so many things going on around the world, you know? And so I remember just taking those comments, and sometimes like, if it's like, oh, that DIY sucks or whatever, it's kind of like, okay, that doesn't really bother me. Cause it's like, I understand like, that's not your thing, you know?
Yeah.
And so if people spend time like sending me hate comments about that, it really doesn't bother me. But I think it was like the attacking of like my character, because I was posting about things that were very important to me and things that I really believed as a follower of Christ that I couldn't just be silent about, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think those are the types of comments that are harder to brush,
right?
Because again, it's about who you are as a person, but all the stuff about like, oh, that's so dumb, or like that project of like, you know, then it's like, whatever, I don't care about those things, you know, but they do happen. And I think I've learned over time that it's really just, it's not about me. It's about that person. And it's easy, you know, you can say whatever you want behind your phone and your computer, and people will, but it's not worth giving my energy into those things, you know, because they're not going to benefit me in any way. So,
man, I can't, I mean, like, I've gotten like one or two trolls before
for
the podcast, and I remember
getting my really? How dare they?
It's like,
what are their names? I mean, you know, right now.
I like podcasting or like, you know, blogging, and like these are very vulnerable things.
You're still putting yourself out there too, you know?
It's like and if you're not being transparent enough, people aren't like, you know, like they're like, oh, why aren't you being honest?
Here's the thing. People think they know you based upon few minutes of your life that you might post about in a single day, in a 24-hour day. And they accumulate those seconds and minutes and think, oh, this is my idea of that person. And if you wrong them, like sometimes you'll get like a comment and they'll be like, well, I'm unfollowing because yada, 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 yada. And then I'm like, that was like so juvenile, like, you know, but it's because people have this idea of who you are in real life, when they have absolutely no idea of who you are in real life, because they don't know you, you know?
Right.
So I think you putting yourself out there too, you're going to be vulnerable to those things, but you know, it's going to come.
Yeah. And I'm thank you for sharing. I just wanted to hear the kind of uglier sides of your job.
Yeah. It's there. It's not, again, it's far in between because it doesn't happen a lot, but which I'm super thankful for, because you know, all of my readers are most like 99% of them are amazing, but sometimes a post, if it's sponsored, it'll go out to like millions of people. And then, you know, I had people fighting on one of my posts the other day, and these people were fighting with each other. And I was like, this is, I'm like, what are you doing? Do you not have anything else to do? It's
right.
It's so funny. It's funny to me, but what are you going to do?
Well, you know, I just to kind of change the subject a little bit, a couple questions have come to mind since I've been talking, and I'm sorry that my questions are so erratic. It's just
it's okay. I'm an erratic person.
Yeah,
too, so
as
totally
I'm
fine.
One question is about your content. You know,
yes.
we touched on that a little bit, and how do you come up with like different ideas? Like you just think, oh, I need to change the color of my banister, so I'm going to do that, or what happens?
Okay, so a very good blogger, again, a very good organized blogger will create their content for the entire year, or at least for the first 3 to 6 months.
Really?
Oh yeah, they have an editorial calendar.
Oh my goodness.
Me. I am so not, it's weird. Like I'm really organized about certain things, like my drawers and things like that. But when it comes to my calendar, I'm so unorganized. So my friends always give me the hardest time, and they think it's so funny because I can't remember what I'm doing like tomorrow, or I can't remember what day it is, or like I'm super bad with that, you know? And I just realized like I stopped beating myself over it because I saw these other people doing their content, and it was just like so organized and streamlined. And I realized like that is just not my gifting, or they have a team of people that can help them do those areas that really help them stay organized. And because I'm by myself, like there's only so many things I can do. So during Christmas, actually, like when Jimmy and I went to Charleston, we're in the car and I wrote down like some ideas. So I do have like kind of a rough draft of what I want to do for 2022. See, I don't even know what year it is. I'll kind of have a rough draft of what needs to get done, along with some of the contracts that are already in place for the year. So then those things are lined up. But typically I'm not very rigid. And I think it's because my personality is just that way. I'm very like spontaneous. So like if I see something and I'm like, oh, I want to do that, I will just do it. And it won't even be maybe the right time, but I just do it anyways, because I'm just feeling that, I don't know, the passion to just transform that chair or something at that moment, you know?
Yeah.
So I wish I had more organization, but that's just not my gifting. And so I've accepted that is my reality. So as long as my sponsored contents are all up to date, which weirdly, I'm very, very, I like take those very seriously. So I make sure those are done. But otherwise it's just kind of a rough itinerary of what I want to do throughout the year. And I feel like my business kind of model changes year after year, where I focus heavily on a lot of DIY content, like even, just like renovations or harder DIY. And now I'm just kind of at a point where I kind of want to just do something more simple and kind of go back to that. So that's where I am right now.
No, yeah. I mean, I feel like honestly, that's really encouraging, because I'm like, you know, I mean, I am a planner, but I know that there are other people that aren't as like planned out as maybe I would be. But to hear you say that, and to still be able to get the work done and get the product out, I think is really encouraging for people to hear. And
I hope so, because that's really not my gift. And my gift is, I know where my gifts lie. And so I try to just really hone in on that and sharpen those skills and realize like those other areas, even though they're super important, like I try to do just the best that I can in my weaker areas, and then not get too down about that, because I'm like, because sometimes I'm like, I would be a much better blogger or influencer if I did yada, 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 yada. But the reality is I can't do all those things, and that's okay.
You got to do you. Uni Min says you got to do you, man.
And then, you know, like I have a family, so they need me
Absolutely.
too. And, got to keep my priorities aligned. And
No, I love it.
yeah.
I love all of this because it just makes it so real. I think again, like a life of an influencer on just one side of the screen looks a certain way to the person that's looking at it, right?
Yeah.
And
And I feel like this is all like really boring stuff, but I'm like, maybe people want to know about it because maybe they see it and they're like, oh, it looks so like what they might envision it. And I'm like, it's really actually, there's a lot of boring parts to
no,
it.
yeah, and
Or
I
just like
definitely
dry. And that's why there are times like this week, I just did not want to get on social media because I was just like, I don't like just getting on just for the sake of it, but a lot of it was just behind the scenes stuff. And I'm like, ain't nobody want to see this, but I don't know, maybe they do.
No, they do. They do. We all want to see it. But that's the thing, which is so
Uh-huh.
interesting, right? Because
Yeah.
we do want to consume all of it. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, I mean, and I think you making it helping me understand, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
know that it's hard work, obviously. Like anything that you are putting out there and working on and making money off of and or
Mm-hmm.
just like doing what you love is always going to
Right.
be hard work, I feel like. And
Right.
so you giving me that perspective is really eye-opening and insightful. Something you mentioned before we started recording was being an Asian American in your industry. And can you elaborate on that? Because me, I feel I don't
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I don't follow like a lot of DIY
Yeah.
lifestyle bloggers because
Yeah.
it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but
Totally.
but I want it to be like maybe one day. Honestly, I'm just like I'll just hire uni when I'm ready to like
I would love to do it. I'd love to
thank
help
you.
you.
But so you're like one of the few that I follow. But I
Mm-hmm.
also know, right,
Mm-hmm.
that even though I don't follow a lot of people, I would imagine there aren't too many Asian Americans doing what you do to the capacity that you do it. And I've noticed over social media. Okay, so like I
Yeah.
don't want people again to like I don't want people to miss out on information, but just because I follow you, I know a lot of things that go on. I feel like I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like you've attended, like they've asked you to like what is it? Not host, but be a
Uh-huh.
guest speaker at like
Oh, at the conference.
conferences
Mm-hmm.
and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, for me, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, like that's really saying something. Like as an Asian American in that platform, being able to share your life and help others that want
Yeah.
to do it, um, and encourage them and teach them. Like, what
Mm-hmm.
has it been like, and what do you want to see happen in the future?
So it's funny, you're talking about the Haven conference, which I've gone year after year for 7 years. I think I just went to my seventh one this past summer, and I started going immediately after I started blogging because I had actually been following the conference for years before I even started blogging.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, that looks so much fun. And
Oh,
I
sorry. What's
loved,
Haven Conference?
okay, Haven conference it's a conference for DIY and home decor bloggers.
Okay, which
Yeah.
is so crazy to me
And
too.
it's in Atlanta, and it's in
Oh
Atlanta.
wow.
Yeah, yeah, which is crazy and so convenient. But I remember seeing bloggers attend it in the summer, and I was like, oh my gosh, that would be so much fun. And then I actually attended year after year, and then I actually became friends with some of those women that like I had been following for years, and it was like, like when people meet a celebrity and they're so awestruck. I was like that when I met a lot of these home decor bloggers, because like, oh my gosh, I've been following you forever, And so after attending year after year, they asked me to like be a panelist for talking about how to make alternative incomes, which was particularly focused on like home staging. So I talked about that for a couple of years. I think I did that like 3 years in a row. And then I was on a Home Depot panel where I talked about how influencers can partner with Home Depot as a brand. So I think just being an Asian American, like when I first started, there definitely weren't a lot of us, when I went to the conference, I might've seen like 2 or 3 other faces, and very, very, it was like, there wasn't a lot of POC. at all. Definitely not a lot of Asian Americans. And as the years progress, like I've seen more, especially this last year, like it's been really encouraging. And I'm super passionate about just helping to lift those women and men up that are Asian American and POC, because they are more obviously a minority in our niche. And they're so amazing and so talented. And it's really funny when like I'll get even a comment or messages from followers are like, thank you for doing this because it's showing my little Asian American daughter that she can do this and do that. And sometimes I'm just like, really? Is it? I don't know. It just, I guess when you're doing it, you're like, is it making a difference? And then, but when you hear like other women who are in this same type of business and they're just like, you doing that and you being on that panel, like it means so much to me. And I think when I'm doing it, didn't think of it as much as I should have. And now I see it as like, wow, that's like such a great honor for me. And for people to like message me and say that, like, that's a huge, almost like a responsibility that I have, you know? And so I feel really grateful that I can do that. But sometimes I'm like, it's just me, like, you know, like, what am I really doing? You know? And I think there's that, sometimes you just feel like, whether it's imposter syndrome or just whatever, you're just kind of like, you know, who am I really, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm, you know, my hope and prayer is that like God would use me and that I wouldn't bury my talents in the ground, but that I would continue to use them to build up his kingdom, and that, you know, and other people would see that and be encouraged and find just the confidence to do their own thing too, you know?
Yeah, I love that. It's so good. You know, what other opportunities do you feel like you've been given, like on your like in your platform? Like, do you feel like, yeah, I don't know. Do you feel like there's been other opportunities that you didn't even know was a possibility for you just because you've been given this platform?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that with almost like every opportunity that I get sometimes, because I'm just like, wow, this is so cool. Like I get to do this. And sometimes it's kind of like, it is a little bit uncomfortable sometimes because you're kind of like putting yourself out there.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you have to do a lot of almost like self-promotion, which sometimes feels like you're like, oh, you know, get sick and tired of seeing my face,
Right,
you know, but at the same time, I'm like, but you know what, if I'm super passionate about that project, like how awesome it is that I get to share that, you know, and then, you know, some of the opportunities that I have been given, it's like amazing, you know, when I think about it, and I'm just like, I don't even know how that happened, but you know, whether it was like flying to, I think, North Carolina and doing like the competition for Lazy Boy and having that all recorded. And that was like so much fun. Or, you know, being a part of like being put in the Home Depot, like furniture and home decor catalog last year, like all of these opportunities that come my way is just like, I'm always humbled by it and blown away. Cause I'm just like, I don't, you know, like, I'm just excited to see what's to come and, you know, in 2022, because every year, like December, I'm kind of like, okay, there's a new year happening. And sometimes I'm like, what's going to happen this year? Cause, you know, I think there's that sometimes that self pressure to like, you know, you want to do more,
like one up yourself.
Yes. Yeah. And like, it's this competition with yourself almost. And I've had to really just be like, you know what, I'm super content with where I am. And if I don't grow in my blog following or whatever it is, like that, I'm okay with it, because I can still, it's still my job. Like I'm still making income and I can still, you know, have influence and do what I love doing, you know, and sharing it with people. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, the opportunity when you renovated your bathroom.
Oh yeah. That almost killed me.
Yeah, like, you made it look so easy, but
it wasn't.
It wasn't, right? Like, you like jackhammered your tile or something.
Yeah, and ever since then, have you noticed I haven't done anything? That was a hard project. It was like a 6-week competition to basically showcase a tile from this particular company.
Okay.
And at the time, I was like, basically our shower that Jimmy and I had been using had been broken for a couple of months. Like it was like water leakage. And so we needed to completely gut it out and renovate it. And we had waited because like we needed to find a company to do that. So finally we find a company to do it. And then, which they ended up actually partnering with me too, and this local company, but then
that's great.
Yeah, they sponsored part of that project. And then this company reached out to me and said, do you want to do this competition? And I had always wanted to renovate that bathroom, but I didn't realize that it was going to happen so soon. So because we were renovating our shower and totally gutting it, I just decided I'm just going to go forward with it. And again, I'm one of those people that are really, again, spontaneous. So like one day I came home and I started painting my kitchen cabinets. And that's how I painted the whole thing in 2 weeks. And I was like, well, why did I do this? You know, I don't know why. I'm just crazy like that. So then I said, I obviously asked Jimmy and I said, should we do this bathroom renovation? And he was like, well, maybe it's a good time to learn how to, you know, demo and lay tile. And so since he was all in, I was like, okay, we're going to do it. And it was hard. Like it was hard work because we were both completely learning as we went, you know, how to demo and how to do everything in that bathroom he's so good at electrical stuff now because he's changed out every
so much respect component. For Jimmy, for real.
he's awesome. I couldn't do it without him. And so we learned just how to do so much with that project, and it didn't kill us at the end.
That's crazy. But guys, she won. She won the competition. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, they won.
Oh my gosh. When we won, I literally cried because it was so much work and it was so hard. But then it like felt so gratifying.
Yeah. Like you guys went to Disney World, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. We saved that money. And then I said, I'm going to do something with the kids because the kids were just like cheerleaders, cheering us on week after week, watching us do it. The kids learned how to do some of the tile. And oh my gosh, at the end, I said, this is going to be for all of us. So we waited and we went to Disney.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh. But it was rewarding. Now that when I'm in the bathroom now, I love that bathroom so much, you know, and to know like our sweat, tears, and like blood actually went into that. Literally. Yeah, it's like, we love it so much. So,
oh man. So see what I love, I think too about what you do is how much you incorporate your family. And I feel I'm almost like a little bit envious because I'm like, wow, like, how cool is it that she can teach her kids, you know, these life lessons, these DIY stuff, like how to use tools. Like I'm so not into that, but I wish I was.
Yeah. Well, you know, you're teaching your daughter and like your kids, like all these other life skills too. And you're having a podcast. And I think it's awesome because you're showing them what it looks like to be doing something that you love, you know, and I think that speaks volumes to them. So you keep doing that there, you know?
Thank
but I love
so
teaching,
much.
Especially my daughters, like how to use power tools because they're going to like gain so much confidence in building. Like there's so much that comes out of like building your own thing or, you know, creating something with your hands and putting forth work and effort and the vision. I think they're awesome life skills that I want to instill in my kids. So in any project that I can, I do want to incorporate them because I feel like, first of all, they actually do enjoy it. And then second, I feel they're going to learn something from it. And maybe that's something that they're going to incorporate into their jobs one day in the future too, you know?
No, I totally believe they will. Like just the skills that you're allowing them to experience. So awesome.
I hope so.
Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I feel like we should like summarize a little bit.
Sure.
But because I feel like you've said bits and pieces of what I'm going to ask you, but I was going to ask you what the least favorite part of your job is and what the best part of your job is.
Okay. The least favorite part of my job is anything technical. That's why my 14-year-old daughter was here helping me set up the Zoom. Because I got this, my computer, my new computer didn't even have a Zoom installed. So she was here like setting everything up. the technical aspects of blogging, like I do not like it. So I use WordPress, and even learning how to do that was a huge learning curve, and a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of Jimmy watching YouTube videos and helping me. And sometimes like just the back end of that, like just doing your website and then learning how to put ads in, like there's just so many things, but also, but even like bookkeeping, I don't love that. And I have my own CPA, but just doing the bookkeeping is like such a drag,
I would hate it too.
All those adulting things that you don't like. I just want to like make pretty things and like just build and stuff, but I don't want to do all this other stuff. Oh, it's like
me. David does all the editing. I just show up for the interview.
Is it right? Because like the editing part, oh my gosh, I don't want to do that. So like, yeah. So I would say those are probably my least favorite things, like contract negotiations, boring, stuff like that. Like I don't enjoy that part. I just like doing the actual DIY design, styling, anything that like styling is my favorite thing, I love doing that. So, but that comes with a job. Like every job comes with the good and the bad, right?
Yeah.
Can't love every part of it. And then the good part is, again, I'm like doing what I love, and I get to share that and show that to my kids. And I get to teach people how to use, tools, or learn how to like style and decorate their home and make it their own. Like I'm super passionate about that. And just hopefully like bring something positive to people's day, like if I can make you laugh or smile or just, whatever, like I have a lot of satisfaction out of that.
Yeah, man.
That's why when me and my sister are together and we're doing like crazy things, like that's like our favorite thing. I'm like, I want to be that influencer. Just like if my sister lived down here, we would totally do that all day.
Oh no, you guys would like soar. You would soar.
Just like, be like a pair of like crazy sisters.
No, so you guys, like, if you don't, okay, after this podcast, you really need to go follow Love Your Abode, because it really is like very inspirational. She does things that, like I mentioned before, projects that you feel like, oh, I can definitely do that. I remember one Christmas, I'm not a decorative, like I don't really like put a lot of effort into my home at this time of my life in this season.
It is hard. It is hard when your kids are little.
with 2 under the age of 5. But I remember like I decorated my mantle for Christmas, and I like went outside and did the clippings of the evergreens.
Yeah.
And I like, because you did it, right? And I was like, yeah, I can do that.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
But okay, but all that to say, but then another thing is, Uni like does a lot of things with her sister. Brown Butter Bakery?
Brown Butter Bakery, but she lives up in New York, so I don't get to see her a lot. But you just come to my Instagram and just check the highlights that my sister is in, and you're gonna have a good belly laugh, because
it is.
She's a comedian. She's a comedian.
Funny, like they are crazy, and I'm like, I love it so much. And then you do stuff with your brother sometimes too, right? Like
he's up in New York too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I also have. I don't want to leave my youngest brother.
Your younger
I
brother.
do have a youngest brother, David. So David John.
I feel like I know so much about you without even hanging out with you.
That's awesome. I know that people are like, can we hang out with you? And people are always like, can we like have a meetup somewhere? And I'm like, would you really show up? Come on, I'm like, are you just saying that? So.
But yeah, so plug for your family.
My crazy family.
They're so awesome and so fun. Which I feel like would probably be another plus for you, as you are an influencer during these times of and it just really does. It truly brings light to such heavy times, I think, in our lives right now.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. There's a lot of heaviness, and I feel like we can never have enough laughter and joy and just.
It's so funny, guys. Just go. Well, do you have any advice before we close today? Like for people that are maybe thinking about, hey, like I really like the idea of being able to help people through social media and being a possible influencer, or any just life advice at all?
I say, if this is what you want to do, just go for it and just be, your authentic self. And if you feel like, well, there's just so many people already doing it, but you're not doing it and you have your own voice and you have your own style and opinions and something that you can offer that adds value, so yeah, I would just say, just go for it. Just study whatever it is that you want to like showcase online, and really study what other people are doing and figure out how to just put your own spin on it and your own voice, and I just don't be afraid. Like, of course there's fear of, I don't know, maybe failure, but you never know until you try. And if you truly love it, just keep doing it day by day, and reach out to people that are also doing it and get some tips, and always learn, always be curious. I feel like that's really important, because even for me, like, I'm naturally a very curious person. So I always like to figure out how someone is doing that thing, if they're really good at it. And so, I think that gives us a hunger to continue to learn and to really grow as a person, in our craft, or mentally or intellectually or whatever. So yeah, with an open mind.
Awesome. If there's somebody that maybe has any questions, would you be willing to possibly be connected with them?
Yeah, just send me an email at loveyourabode@gmail.com. I will not get back to you quickly, but I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. I do sometimes get a lot of DMs, and the email is probably the quickest and best way to reach me. But yeah, of course, you can reach out to me and let me know if you have any questions at all. And especially for Asian Americans kind of wanting to go into this field, again, like the lifestyle or whatever niche is so large. And there's travel bloggers and food bloggers. Like, there's just so many different things that you can do. So if you love, I always said, like, if I weren't doing home decor, I probably would be doing like food, because I love food so much, and I would probably do that. But that's why I kind of incorporate some of that into my blog. But if you guys have any questions, do not hesitate. I'm happy to answer or help you in any way I can.
Awesome. Thanks, man. So do your DMs, like, sometimes do you have like hundreds?
It just depends on what I'm sharing.
I see.
Sometimes it can be just super random. Like when I talked about kitchen food scissors, like how Korean people use food scissors.
I remember that.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is like a new thing for people, So it just depends. If I'm doing like a cool project, people might have a lot of questions, or if it's with me and my sister, my DMs blow up whenever we're together. But it just depends. And so,
that's so
funny. I do try to get through all of them, because to me, it's important, like, to build my community within my social media, because I don't see it as just like, however many people. I see it as like individual people that are following me that, are there for a specific reason. And I want to create that type of community there,
Yeah, I love that too. And especially like me, I like reach out to people sometimes and they don't message me back. I'm like, okay.
I've messaged so many people and they didn't respond back to me. So I'm like, but I know. Go ahead.
Sorry. No, well, I was just going to say thank you again so much. I can't express my gratitude enough for your time, and just kind of sharing what it's like to be you, I guess.
Thanks for having me. This was fun. It was a nice little break after my virtual online school today,
I'm
which
glad you
I have to do again tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. You heard it here. If you have any questions, you can reach her at loveyourabode@gmail.com, or you can email me at podcastwigu@gmail.com. Until next time, bye y'all.
Bye.